Mhm. Okay, the wait is over.
Hey, it's good to
We
be
are
back.
back. That's right. It's good to be back. And this is another wonderful Wednesday morning, gearing up to be Snowmageddon 2.0 for this year, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
we'll see. I've seen some reports saying 5, 6 inches and another 1 or 2, but with ice and sleet mixed in. So we'll see what happens to us. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw 2 to 3 inches this morning with a dusting of ice.
Yeah,
We'll see.
it's
So
always fun.
today's show, we are talking about the myths of homeschooling.
Hmm.
And we did kind of cover some of these things, I think on episode 1, season 1, episode
We
1,
touched on it. Yeah, yeah. Way back when.
way back when, literally weeks ago. So I thought we'd cover a larger list, potentially, unless we get hung up on one and won't shut up about it, then we'll be stuck with
As
one.
we have tendency.
All right. So let's kick it off with the best and foremost, in my opinion. Parents aren't qualified to teach their children.
Hmm. Yeah, you hear that one, and sometimes you feel that one. That as a parent, like, you get that fear in the back of your head. I think what we end up doing, and other parents as well, is you take the entire kind of 12-year experience of the school journey and you cram it into one singular thought. And you remember everything that you personally went through, whether you came up homeschool or public school or private school, whatever, but you remember your entire journey of school and how many years and how much learning. And you're like, that was a lot of information. I don't remember most of it, but then I'm supposed to teach it. But reminding yourself it's a 12-year journey for your child as well. And there's resources, there's places to get information, that you don't have to be the expert. You just need to be good at digging for information to be able to share with your child is really what it comes down to. Because I guarantee all the teachers at school uh, are not all experts either. I think that's probably safe to say.
Well, let's break that down a little further. Um, where does that line get drawn? Because, in my opinion, I'm the most qualified person in my kid's life to teach them a lot of things. Like, let's just say walking, uh, walking,
Good place to start.
talking. Right. I feel like I did a really good job at teaching my kids how to uh, do a lot of things.
I've seen them walk. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've witnessed their walking. They
they
have
can
that
stay
skill. Yeah,
they can stay upright mostly when they're
they
walking
do
around the
really.
house.
Usually, they do really good. Yeah,
They can make it down the stairs. Good job, you made it.
yeah.
um, I like talking. I mean, they. Uh, I can take credit for some of the spelling hereditariness one of my daughters has,
Oh, that's my worst. I'm the worst.
but I don't know. In all honesty, like we teach them a lot of things: how to hold a spoon, a
Yeah,
fork.
right.
How to act. We try to teach them that correctly. That's a long running uh, battle we fight. How to act, but when it comes to schooling matters, like where's that line? Is it only academic? We only teach them. Are we not allowed to teach people about a historical event? Like, can I teach them lineage from my past or my family? That's kind of the same as history, isn't it? Like this happened to Grandpa. Oh, I can't talk about that. It's only a qualified teacher who can talk about these things.
Well, and that's the thing about the term, qualified teacher. The thing is, as a parent, and specifically for all the dads out there, you are already a teacher. to your child, whether you are planning to homeschool or not. They are already observing you, everything that you do, the way you interact with others, the way you treat others, your level of
Mm-hmm.
respect for your spouse and for your children, for your coworkers, the level of dedication that you have to Bible study for yourself, leading scripture in your own home, all of these other things. Your kids are already picking that up. They're already paying attention to the cues that they receive from you. You are already a teacher. Um, Taking that into an intentional direction to be going, you know what, I'm not only going to allow them to pick up passively from whatever I'm doing in my life, for them to passively learn from me, I'm going to actively have them learn from me. And that's really all it is. To become qualified as a
Mm-hmm.
homeschool parent is moving your mental state from a passive teacher, because they're learning, and going into that active state. And I'm going to take on that role. I'm going to have that determination in my mind, and I'm going to make my choices based off of that decision.
Yeah. Could you imagine if we had to do a structured um, classroom setting on everything we teach our kids? For example, I'm gonna like whip out some textbooks in the middle of the morning. My kid's walking downstairs. I'm like, "Oh, sit down, son. Sit down, daughters. Open textbook to page 63 on how to care for your mom. This is the lesson that dad's going to show you how not to talk to somebody." And then I'll say something stupid to mom, and but or likewise, cleaning up the dishes or cleaning up, vacuuming. We don't need a textbook in a formal setting to teach them the value of being present as a dad,
Yeah.
because even our daughters will watch what we do as fathers, and they will internalize it, and they will expect that level of caring for them when they're older, when they find somebody eventually, if they ever do. They will expect a level of caring that you demonstrate to them in their childhood and how you treat your mom or their mom. So it goes beyond being qualified as a teacher to teach a subject. It's You have a lot of impact on your kid's life just being around them or not being around them. Like not
Mm-hmm.
being around somebody makes a big message as well. That's why it's important to realize what you're working on, what you're doing, what you're saying. If I'm downstairs in my office here working on something for a client and I need peace and quiet, and my 6-year-old wanders in and wants me to play with him, um, it's really easy for me to try to shoot him out and just be like, "No, I'm busy. Leave me alone." Because my thoughts are in coding or my thoughts are on something, and I can't just stop like a switch and do something else without being really disrupted. So I have to make a conscious effort a lot of times to stop and just pause what I'm doing, no matter how inconvenient it is, and realize that my kid will see me stopping and doing something with them, watching a movie late at night when I really have other things I need to do. I can do those things tomorrow, but I need to also be there for my son or my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was a great
Yeah.
intro. I love that one. Being there and teaching. That's kind of
All
what
right.
we're.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll
Yep.
we'll see you
That's
next week.
it. That's the best we got today, guys. Okay. What about homeschool families stay home all day and lack socialization?
That's a, I mean, yeah, you absolutely hear that one all the time too. And I could imagine there's probably some families out there that prove this myth true.
Yeah.
That then, when you do meet them, you're like, oh yeah, that those kids don't ever socialize, so they ruin it for everyone else. But no, it's a decision that if that's what's happening in your home, that your kids are never around other kids, your family's never around other families, that's because you chose as a family to never be around other families or to have your kids around other kids. There are so many opportunities. We talked about them some last week about getting into a soccer club, or my girls are in dance, and being involved in your church, your children's ministry, your youth ministry, um, archery club, taekwondo, I don't know, whatever. Like there's ways to get your kids involved, and they don't all have to have something that's like I was just saying, church groups. They don't have to have a cost associated with them. So if you're worried about, well, I can't sign up for all of these other things because they all come with a big bill attached to it. No, there's ways to get out there and be involved in other kids. Just look up, even just Google homeschool support groups or other co-ops if you wanted to build a co-op into your weekly routine. If you don't have them going on this school year, see if there's something going on in your area, or if you're super entrepreneurial and industrious enough, start your own. Start reaching out to other families. You don't have to do this alone. Your kids don't have to try to learn how to be an adult by staring at the wall and you being around sometimes. Like, no, they can socialize, they can interact, and it's super important that they have those opportunities available in their life. It's actually like in the playground setting, in the play time that kids have. That's when they're first learning their interpersonal skills of how to come to decisions together with their peers, how to compromise, how to work out conflict resolution. Having that opportunity and time for your kids is extremely important. And if they're not having that built into their routine, that's up to that family to figure that out. And if you haven't looked into that, dug into that, I would challenge you to do so.
Yeah, there are actually non-homeschool families who don't like leaving their house either.
That's right.
It's a thing. People sometimes just want to stay home. I feel that. I would rather stay home a lot. I go through like spurts. Sometimes I'm super social. Sometimes I want to have people over. Actually, a lot of times I want to have people over because I don't like going places. So maybe that's the thing. I just like staying in my own house. Like if someone, even my friends, like my close friends, are like, come over to my house for a dinner. I'm like, I got to pack the kids. I got to bring the wife. It's a whole thing. So why not you guys just come over to our house?
Because all I have to do for that is just put my pants on and then you come over. It's so much faster and easier.
I mean, I should put my pants on. I mean, do I have to? No. But but yeah, it's a lot easier. I mean, there's this, and also, I think it helps me and my wife it forces us to clean our house, which is nice.
Yeah, right.
No other clean house app. How do I say that? I'm saying that weird.
Not built in your routine otherwise.
Yeah, well, it is. We go through like, we try to have chores and schedules and whatnot for our kids and ourselves. I have the certain things that I take care of, and a lot of times if I see something, I'll run it back and around if I see a need for it. Obviously my eyes see a lot less of an issue on things than my wife's eyes. She looks at it and she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's all this and that," and I'm just like, "Looks fine to me," But it's just not as important to me at that moment, I guess. But yeah, that's yeah, I guess. But you learn as a husband and a dad, you learn what's important to your spouse, and you learn to do those things as well, make them important for you. Because if they're not important to you and they're important to your spouse, you got a problem.
Right? Yeah.
But back to the actual topic of, yes, I think there's a lot of these that smush together actually. So I'm looking at this list. Lacking social interactions. Maybe there's not. I don't know where I was going with that. I had a couple I was looking at. Oh yeah, so the kids can't play sports at public schools. Can't participate in extracurricular activities. Yeah, well, those two can be smushed together. Which we kind of touched on this in the first about us kind of things. Our kids are into a lot of stuff. Like might have Silk's class. They used to do gymnastics. We were homeschooling when we did that too. My girls both did soccer. My boys both did soccer. My youngest is still really into soccer, and he's getting really good at it. He needs a little more like practice at going after the ball after he kicks it, but he's going after things, which is nice. He's not running away from the ball. So baby steps. And I didn't teach him that, like a soccer coach taught him those things. I probably should teach him more soccer, but it's you can have supplemental learning for your kids along the way. What activities are you in? Well, your kids do stuff, don't they?
Yeah, like I've said, they're in dance, and
That's right.
that's kind of the big main one, and then being involved in activities at church and stuff. But this goes back to just the heart of just your your whole well-rounded approach to education in general. And this could be for a homeschool family or otherwise, but taking that, again, that intentional step of finding what makes your child, your student thrive, and chase after that. If they are into athletics, find out which kind of athletic they enjoy, whether it's a team sport or an individual sport, like you said, gymnastics, or it could be basketball or soccer or something. But if they're into hunting, they're into STEM stuff, you could find Lego clubs, things that are going on in lots of communities all over the country. There are things you can find that feed the specific just way that your child their brain is developing, the interests that they have. Um, the types of extracurricular activities that are available out there. It's crazy what you can find if you just look. But that's the joys of homeschooling, is we get to go, you know what, this is what really feeds my child intellectually and educationally, and I'm just going to pour into that because I can tell that this is what really makes them come alive. And so we're just going to chase hard after that, whether it's athletics or otherwise. Music, band. There's ways that if your child is musically inclined, you can have online private lessons, or there could be an orchestra in your community that allows homeschool families to join.
Yeah,
We've got one
we're
here
part
in
of
our
that.
area. Yeah,
Yeah.
your kids are part of that. So, yeah, I mean, the interests of students is varied, and the opportunities for them to be involved is equally as varied. And sometimes you just have to ask around and look, and you can be surprised what you end up finding.
So in your, let's see how to ask this one. Your educational background, you are an expert at play, right? S-
Sure.
yeah. So you have what's the title of that degree again? A degree in
Recreational
recreation. Man,
management. So
I'm
church
jealous of that degree
recreation. Yeah.
actually. Like my
Yeah.
LinkedIn profile would be
With
so much better with
with
that on it.
a minor in psychology.
Minor
So
in psychology. Okay. So you can judge me
yeah.
while I play outside.
Right. Yeah.
So do you have a rule in your house? And was it your own doing, or your wife and you come up with this yourself? That your kids have to do something like a sport, a something or whatever, other than just sitting there like a bump in the log. Like, do you have that rule?
I don't know if we ever made it like a formal rule, but it was us just asking questions of our kids of what they're interested in and what they wanted to be a part of. And both of our girls, we found out about the dance studio that's in our area, and they both thought that sounded great. And we've been a part of it for several years, and they both love it. So it's just, I think for us, it's just about being curious, finding what sparks their interest, and trying to find ways to feed that. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
So as
Do you have that hard rule for yourself?
I think we on the surface want to have that kind of rule that you have to do something. You can't just sit at home
Yeah.
and veg out. So far our kids have chosen something. You know, my oldest got out of soccer and now he's into volleyball, and he really likes volleyball. And through the Y, there's a program that's able to have almost year round, games. So it's pretty nice. Hopefully that continues. I mean, I know he really enjoys it. I enjoy watching him play. So I really hope that we can get him into either a league or something. We started off just with normal, the normal flow of kids at the Y, joining their teams. But a homeschool dad got together and he got a bunch of homeschool kids. There are a couple non-homeschoolers, I think, on our team. I'm not really sure, but it's majority of it's from our co-op. It's kind of cool. So they all know each other. They're friends. Um, yeah, they do good. I had a question. Oh, yes. So all those dads out there who had those great experiences at like summer camps or school gym class, and they're worried about their kids possibly being homeschooled and not having the opportunity to play sports with other kids at school. Have your children ever experienced dodgeball?
Oh man. That is a very good question. I don't know if they have. Possibly at a maybe at a church thing,
Okay.
but I don't know if they've ever got to experience the joy
The
of a
joy.
full-throated,
Yeah. Playground
no
ball to the
holds
face.
barred. Uh-huh. Yeah, the rubber
Okay.
ball, neat face. Yeah, I don't know if they've
I can
gotten
still
to
smell
experience
that and
that.
taste that and feel that
Yeah.
sting as my glasses fly off one
Uh-huh.
direction. Like I
Yeah.
distinctly remember playing outside at the playground, public school. Before school, I went to latchkey, so we went outside and played around. Got sweaty, it was terrible. But I remember playing uh, kickball, and for some reason, I got hit as a kicker. I remember being a kicker, and I got hit in the face with a ball. I don't know how that
Did you
happened.
kick yourself in the face?
Maybe I forgot. I kind of blacked
Sounds
that
like a
part
really
out.
good story here.
But I remember like hearing the sound like ping, and my glasses went one way and my face went the other way, and it just like hurt on one
Yeah.
side, and I could taste the
Uh-huh.
rubber. It was entertaining. But I was just wondering, like, okay, Red Rover. Your kids ever play Red Rover?
No, I thought that game was outlawed now. Kids breaking wrists and all.
Well, on public schools, fine. But you know what? Homeschool, we can do whatever we want. We can play outlaw. We can play
It's
outlaw
true.
games. We can make a seesaw,
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Well, I don't
merry-go-round.
know if I asked them, how do you play Red Rover, they'd probably look at me. I don't think they have a clue.
That'd be an
Yeah.
interesting segment. Maybe my wife can do that on her homeschool blog, her video, her YouTube channel. Man,
Yeah.
messed that up again. Homeschoolmom.com. But she can probably do a cool segment on like the things our kids probably have no idea about.
Uh-huh.
And is that good or bad? It's
This,
kind of like proving our point, I guess, on that one. Maybe if we put
it's
the
like,
effort forward, they can play games still like that. It's
yeah.
like,
The one that always stressed me out, and we never actually did, but it was always in like the movies of or a TV show. If there was a kid in PE class, was doing the rope climb, and you had to
mm,
climb all the way up and touch the rafter and not
we did
fall
that.
and die.
We did
You
that,
did
and
that?
my
I
wife did
never
that.
had a PE class that we did that in. Yeah,
Oh man, we should ask.
but
We
it
should
always
ask
stressed me
our
out.
church if you could put a rope to the rafters and have the kids climb up to the top.
But
It's
I've got a
okay.
rope.
We'll put a small thin mat at the bottom. It'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's funny because then I love rock climbing and doing all of that stuff. I don't really I'm not afraid of heights if I'm strapped in, but climbing up a rope without a harness, that no, not
See,
interested in that.
heights to fall off of something that I could be injured and survive scare me.
Uh-huh.
Heights
Yeah,
that I can fall off and to just die, which I mean, you can die falling off your roof, right? If you land wrong. But I'm saying like an airplane or a skyscraper edge, that doesn't bother me as much because I know that if I fall, I'm going to die, and it's fine. It's just how it's going to happen. But the possibility of severe pain and surviving is what kind of terrifies me. So it's a weird thing. Like, I mean, I'm still cautious around. I'm
yeah,
not like reckless on an edge doing parkour off of roof edges to roof edges. That's not me. Because I can't jump very far and I'm kind of out of shape. But maybe, and that was my own fault. That's not the public school system. That's my own fault. But I never was really good at the rope climb or the pull ups. That's the other thing my kids probably never had to do. Was the pull up test. Remember those tests we had to do in gym
the
class?
presidential. Generally, yeah,
Yes.
those presidential
It was
and
sit and
you.
reach, pull ups,
Huh.
jumping
Oh, the
jacks,
sit and reach
running.
was the worst.
Yeah,
Yeah,
running,
I've
and then there
burned.
was the rope climb wasn't part of it, but I always associated that with it was the pull ups were the worst. It was like that one little scrawny
Yeah,
kid that was like, shorter than everybody else, had no muscle, no body fat at all, like a twig. He's sitting there just going
yeah,
up and down, up and down, up and down, and
that's right. Uh-huh.
I
I
I, I
couldn't.
get one because I jump off the ground and I'm like one, and then it's like
Yeah.
nothing. Drop. There's a silence over the
You're tall
crowd.
enough, though. You could probably do the jump off the ground a few times.
Oh, I did it once, and then I try to you have to hook your. They tell you this before you start. You cross your legs and bend your knees so
Yeah.
you are hanging there. And
Hmm.
overhand or underhand grips allowed. It's like it doesn't matter if it's overhand, underhand, both hands, arms around the bars. I'm not pulling myself up to the chin. Trust me. You get
Yeah.
one jump,
Yeah.
lady. That's it.
I always lie to myself. It's because I'm more blessed in lower body strength, but I don't have anybody's strength. So
If I can invert myself, I can do 100 curl ups,
that's right. That's right.
which is also not true. I couldn't do that either. It was sit ups, push ups and push ups. No, 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 no.
Sit-ups
I
I could do. That one I was all right.
I always told myself, because I was so tall and because I know the angle, the longer you are from the fulcrum, the more effort you have to put into lifting something up, which I guess goes against that principle because it should be easier. But it's just I have more mass, so it's harder for me, and I have no upper body strength. I should. I have the build for being a great ripped bodybuilder. I just don't execute on that plan.
Doesn't have to be
Okay.
that way.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Um,
Yeah.
Homeschool. Back to the topic. uh,
We
Homeschool
have those.
families hardly spend time learning.
Whew. I mean, that goes back to that point I was trying to say earlier, that it's flipping that mindset from your kids being, or you being involved in passively teaching to actively teaching. Every moment is an opportunity for learning. Um, and, and then it just is around the way that you build your structure and you build your routine in your home. It does not have to be, I'm sure some homes do this. Some families are built this way where they have a bell that goes off at 8 a.m. like the regular school, and then every, I don't know, what is it, 50 minutes, then the bell rings again. Okay, time to switch to the next topic. I'm sure there's families that do that, and there's probably some people who are logging off of our podcast right now because I just offended them.
Yeah. All
That
the
is not
two,
how
three people are logging
That's
off
right.
in
Yeah.
droves.
Uh, that's not the way our home is built. Our structure isn't that specific, but they do hit on all of the topics that they need to hit on. We give them kind of their checklist. Okay, here's what you need to get done today, and I'm going to observe while I'm working on my own project over here, or I'm giving some direct instruction to this student while you do your thing over there. And one of them might be doing math, and one of them might be doing English or science or something. They don't even have to necessarily be doing the exact same subject at the same time. Or sometimes you might be doing a single lesson for the both of them, and trying to hit kill two birds with one stone sort of thing, where we're both going to do a science lesson tonight. Right now, or last night, we sat and read some history together, and so it was all three of us, and I was able to cross out history for both of them all at the same time. And that's one of our favorite things to do, is just sit on the couch with some big warm blankets when it's like this outside, and we just sit and read together. And
That is
yeah,
a
like
plus about homeschooling. You can learn anytime, anywhere. Like it's not like you said, there's no bell, so you can be at the grocery store and you can like this. I don't think this happened to us yet, but the possibilities there. The cashier's like W722, and you're like, count the change out. There you go. There's
right?
a real world counting situation for you if you use cash. But I'm just there's those opportunities. How
Yeah.
in the
Oh
aisle
gosh.
in the aisle of supermarket, if I buy this 12-ounce can of whatever, or if I buy this 263 pack, which one has better savings? That's a real world math problem right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this goes to the whole. This is a myth that pertains just to homeschool families.
Yeah.
Like specifically, you even just talking about the counting out change, because in a prior life, I used to run a really cool candy store out in Colorado. Loved it. It was a lot of fun. I had way too much of it, but I would have kids come in, and we had all the bulk bins, and you fill up your bag with all the different candies, and you come up and we weigh it, and then after we weigh it, then we tell you, okay, this is your price, and then the kid has to pay for their candy. The kids would come in with their big bags full of candy. We'd weigh it out for them, and I so many times would have kids that would come in, as kids do, bring in just their pocket change or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they would just hand me like a Ziploc bag or hand me their wallet, and they would tell me as the employee, count out what I need for me. I don't know how. And I'm just in there going, wow, you don't even my kids know how to count change.
In
We
today's
found like a
moral
board
lesson,
game. Yeah, I mean, we found a board game that's about like counting change and stuff, and that's part of that. When they were younger, that was part of our curriculum that we used at home. That, and I counted that as homeschool. Like we would play a board game, but it was about counting out change, and they know how to do it now. Like there's ways you can layer in all sorts of learning.
Jimmy, why can't we have Dad School podcast and candy store?
Because we haven't tried yet. All things are possible.
Ba-ding! No. Okay. Why can't do that one?
Well, it's because candy stores aren't open this early in the morning. So
but
maybe
if they were, would our biggest customer be the early rising kids or parents on the way to work?
That's right. Yeah.
Need that quick pick me up at work? Get it? Stop by Dad School Podcast Candy Store.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell a single word I'm saying because my mouth would just be full of gummy bears and
the whole time. It's like a mandatory at in the store. You got to have your mouth full of candy all the time.
That was why I don't work there anymore, because that was my problem.
So the intentionality behind how you teach your kids, the work ethic behind learning is kind of what that boils down to. Like even a non-homeschool family, if you are a deadbeat parent who just sits on the couch watching TV shows every single night, nothing wrong watching TV. I'm gonna put that disclaimer in there. But if it's all you do, and your kids see you as a dad, not mowing the grass, not repairing things around your house. My wife's like checking the list off right now. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. How many wives out there right now are doing the same thing?
I'm doing that. I'm like, am I repairing things around the house?
Let me think of something that I'm doing. Hang on.
That's right. Let's make ourselves look good here.
Yeah. Next topic. No. But yeah, seriously, if you're doing nothing and your kids see you doing nothing, and not saying the situation is always going to be dad's doing nothing and wife's being super productive, but it is, I don't know. Is that a myth itself?
It's the trope that's on all of the sitcoms that the dads
that's true.
The lazy, do nothing, bumbling idiots.
That's true. And that is the stupefaction of America. Like the sitcoms are making dads look bad because of that. Oh, goofy dad, always messing up.
You could be a goofy dad, but don't
mess up. Don't mess up.
Right.
Ever. You have to be perfect all the time. No. What else? Okay. So speaking of doing things and speaking of being accountable as a student in general for a homeschool or non-homeschool family, doing actual homework. Okay. This one's funny because the definition of homework would be work you do at home, right?
Right.
And wouldn't that mean homeschool kids only do homework?
That's quite the quandary.
Yeah. Like back at you. We do all the homework.
Everything is always only homework. No, I think that idea comes from there's directed time of learning where they're receiving information from something being taught, and then time that they're spending on their own finishing their work later. And my kids get that. Sometimes their direct instruction of what they're being taught is a video series that we found that is teaching a specific history lesson or science lesson or an art class that we do. And then they spend time after that specific instruction and continue working on it after. And that's their homework after they've received their specific instruction. And it works. My kids actually know how to do things. And the art that they do is beautiful. And like they know how to read and write papers and all those things. They're capable because we've built that routine and that structure of have some direct time and then have some time on their own to practice.
And you already kind of touched on this before, but if your kids don't finish their work when they're supposed to, that reminds me of something I was going to ask you before, actually, but I'll finish this thought. If your kids don't finish their work in the time allowed, they have to do it later, or like on the weekend, even Sunday or Saturday. They're waking up and doing their homework before they can do fun activities, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how
I
our,
mean,
our
we had
house
that
works the same way.
this last Sunday before we could go to Super Bowl party. We had to finish a couple things that we got a little behind on, and guess what? We got it done.
That's right. So here's my question I had for you. Okay, on
Okay.
and it popped in my mind a while ago when we were talking about morning routines kind of scenario for your kids and like ringing the bell every hour for subject. Do you have a set time you guys start your school day? Like, I know it probably changes based on what the day holds for your kids. It might
Right.
be different for your
Huh.
co-op days versus not. But do you have like a set schedule that your kids are expected to get up by a certain time and be ready and working?
No,
No.
not at all.
I think we've tried that. Like we've tried like there is an overarching expectation in our household that you should not be sleeping all day, right?
Oh,
We
I
have
mean, we do wake them up. Yeah, yeah,
well, we used to have I wouldn't say a strict rule, but there was like expectations of by 9 o'clock, mom is downstairs and they're doing the first lesson together, and that's probably more tied to my wife wanted to have a schedule for herself too, because she has home business that she runs as well, and she teaches the kids, and she has the curriculum broken out into what days she's super organized. Like she has this plan. I've often been completely terrified if she were to get in a car accident and heaven forbid pass away, or if something happened to her and I'm sitting here with 4 kids. That's the terror in itself. But 4 kids, and I strongly believe in the homeschool life for my children. How would I be able to do everything she does? Because she does so much the planning on our side. And I know for you that's a little
yeah.
different look. But like, if and let's get weird here. If you were to hit by a bus, how would your wife handle the education going forward for your kids?
Oh man, we went deep. We went
Yep.
scary.
Sorry, I went around the cliff there, literally in the
Yeah,
car with
yeah,
us.
right, yeah. No, I mean that absolutely would be a challenge for a family that would, if you were a single income and a single parent at the same time. I could see homeschool would absolutely be a challenge, um, and that would be a case by case, you know, situation to reach out to family members, grandparents if they're able to be involved. A lot of homeschool families already have grandparents love to be involved, and could be a great resource for you. Yeah, we've not set up any sort of contingency plan. We have not crossed that bridge, and I just pray that we don't have
Right,
to.
right. Same here. I'm just like, it just popped in my mind. I was thinking about that. It actually popped in my mind
Yeah,
while I was telling you about something else that popped in my mind. But no, and that kind of touches on like, is another myth. Is it expensive and only for wealthy families? That's another one we can kind of talk about in this situation, because
yeah,
it does have a cost associated with teaching your own kids at your own house. I'm not going to lie. There are some costs, but you can really be intelligent about those costs. You can go to some, if you're a faith based family and you're doing this with that in your heart, there are a lot of Christian bookstores that have books you can get that were used for
yeah,
curriculums. Curriculums are expensive. I'm not going to lie.
yeah.
But a lot of things are going to online classes too. So if you're okay with technology, you can definitely pop the laptop or the tablet open, and your kids have lots of opportunities doing that. But yeah, is it only for? Like, I'm not rich. Are you rich, Jimmy?
All right. I just checked. No,
Like,
no,
no, no, confirmed.
no,
No.
no. Confirmed. Well, yeah. There's again, the resources are available. You can get into the public library and find all sorts of stuff. We love, that's part of our favorite parts of going to the homeschool conventions that we go to.
Yes.
Oftentimes the curriculums run discounts when you buy at the expo hall versus buying directly on their website or something like that. You get special discounts. So we end up coming home with a lot of our curriculum when we go to the conferences. There's we've got a great uh, um, it's kind of a homeschool Christian library here in the St. Louis area. So it's a free library we could check stuff out at, separate from the public library. But they also have a big consignment room in the back where families are selling either used or curriculums that they didn't ever use. It hasn't even been touched, but they're just selling it consignment. You can pick up really great deals on some homeschool stuff. Get on Facebook Marketplace and make a post of I'm looking for this sort of thing. You never know what sort of person might see your post and reach out to you. There's ways that you can creatively and as resourcefully and cheaply as possible. You can build out a great homeschool plan.
Yeah, if you have families that have kids in different walks of life at that time, you guys can circulate your curriculum as well. If it's not, depending on what, like math is pretty universal. It doesn't change very often. Two plus two still equals 6. So,
Yeah, we're great. Yeah.
That was a bad joke. Sorry.
It's a dad joke.
It wasn't a dad. It was just a bad joke. Bad. The B. Yeah. So back to the bus and the cliff thing. This has actually been on my mind like the past couple of years. The more I get interested in homeschooling, the more terrified I am of having to do it by myself. Which, like you're saying, grandparents and other family members step in and help you out. Not saying I'm like planning anything for my wife. I'm just like terrified of that because she's so good at that. She takes care of the kids, and I'm so grateful of that. But it's something that I want my kids to be able to still experience, and I don't want to just throw them in public school if the worst happens. But man, I gotta get off this topic. This is depressing.
Well, the thing that brings hope to me, thinking about that sort of scenario, is being surrounded by a community of people who do care about us, being involved in our church, having connections with people like you and other families that are there. If you're out there and you're realizing you don't have any contacts or connections in your community, you haven't surrounded yourself with people who know your family, care deeply about your family, and other people that are already currently resources that you're able to reach out to for asking questions and that sort of stuff. That's a great place to start. Figure out how you can be building those bridges, building those connections with people, because unfortunately things do happen. I pray that they don't.
Yeah.
But that's who you're going to lean on in that sort of situation.
If you can't find resources, or if you're really bad at looking things up and you're just terrible and don't know where to go, and you do have this problem, or you are terrified of having this problem, you can go to dadschooledpodcast.com and you can send us an email. You can reach out to us and we will help you. We're open to talking back to you. We are two lonely dads that want people to reach out to us. Bored, sometimes bored. And we would love to come alongside you and help you figure things out if you do have questions like that, or any other questions. How do I teach my kid how to brush their teeth? You know what? We will try. My kids are working on that still.
Toothbrush goes like this.
That's is it this way? Is it this way? Is it circles?
Or
do you just like jab it in your teeth?
Just kind of walk around the house, just sucking on the tooth.
If you put it in your mouth, is it good enough, or do you have to actually do something?
Great. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, my favorite thing is to hold the toothbrush steady and then move your head.
That's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. Just go drive down a bumpy road and let it kind of do its thing.
So maybe any question except for how to brush your teeth, you can come to us and ask us. Because we just covered the teeth brushing right here, and you can easily, but you know what?
We'll clip this. We'll put it online, and now all the kids in America will know how to brush their teeth.
Yeah, and if you brush your teeth and you spit, and all the toothpaste in a big clump comes out into your sink and stays there, you're doing it right.
Didn't do it right.
Oh, you're not doing it right. The more toothpaste you can shove down your drain, the faster it drains. Trust me.
That's right.
Oh man. Okay. I had a really good one. the next one. What was it? Yeah. So, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Standardized tests. Okay. Homeschooling means kids never have to take standardized tests. Tests. Let me ask you, Jimmy. In the real world, air quotes, when have you had to take a standardized test in the course of your jobs? Like, not saying to get a job. Maybe that's a maybe. I've actually had to take some pretty hardcore calculus like tests for some programming jobs I've taken. I did not pass them or nor get the job because dang, it was like that thick, and they gave you a pencil, paper, a calculator, and said you have 1 hour.
Oh gosh.
I was like, what? What happened here? But it was actually for a physics engine software development role. So it makes sense. You should know some math. I did not know enough math to get that job. Anyways, but so when have you had to take an actual standardized test?
I haven't. I don't think. It's
Yeah.
been a long time.
Like, do you think CEOs out there of large corporations sit down on the daily and take a standardized test
Every day. That's what a
every
CEO
day?
does.
Yeah, it's like time for
Right.
your test, sir. Take this test
Uh-huh.
to prove your
Yeah.
worthiness in this society. No, standardized
Oh,
tests are, okay. I understand how we can get to the point in education to have a standardized test. It's like you teach your kids something and you want to be able to give them something in mass because you have more than one kid in a public school setting. 'Cause I'm just thinking like the very bare bones basics. I'm in a log cabin out in the olden days. I'm teaching, 6 different grades at the same time in a small classroom of 10 kids or less, right? Just going basic here. And I taught them all something, and I need to test if they know something. What's the easiest way to do that? Bring each kid in up one at a time and ask them questions, or give them a piece of paper that I came up with that should cover the basics and have them fill it out, see if they can do that. I get where they came from, but
mhm.
I don't see that in life anywhere.
Right. Yeah. It's not a regular daily routine sort of experience for sure.
Yeah. So that goes into other ones here, like um, homeschooling is just for kids who can't hack traditional schools.
I know a
Good.
lot of kids in schools. Yeah, a lot of kids in traditional schools that can't hack traditional schools that
That's
are still
true.
there. I don't.
I
Yeah.
barely hacked traditional school. Okay.
Right.
I barely
Yeah.
made it out of there. Um,
Yeah. You get
so
the whole like, your kids if they're homeschooled. This is the favorite one. If your kids are homeschooled, they're not going to be socialized, and they're
mhm.
going to end up being awkward. They're not going to fit in. They're not going to be like everybody else.
Yeah, or
And
they'll
to
be
that, I
sheltered.
say, or they'll be sheltered. But I'm like, yes, I don't want them to be like everyone else. Have you seen what goes on? And I don't want them coming home. Because and the biggest thing that they learned today is they know all the Taylor Swift lyrics and they know how to twerk. Like that's not what I'm expecting for my child to go and do at their
And
school experience.
and for the
How many kids that's
non-homeschool
their
people
story?
listening, I will preface this by saying it is not a guaranteed, like we're not saying that's all that happens in public school.
No.
But the environment is there, and that is
Mhm.
that is a big I guess plus for me is I control my own environment in my own house. I can decide whether we're doing twerking lessons or not. Oop, did I just lose Jimmy? I think I just lost Jimmy. Wah wah. Come back, Jimmy. Come back. Yep, we lost to Jimmy. He might join us again. But yeah, I am not doing the twerking lessons at home. I am not doing all those things. I'm not bullying. I'm not intentionally bullying my kids at home. Maybe I'm harsher on them than I should be sometimes. Jimmy, you should come back. He's not here yet. Um, man, he just blinked off. There he is. There he is.
Oh no,
Show.
what happened?
You're back.
All of
Yay.
a sudden, I just disappeared. I
Don't
don't
hit
know
that
why.
button. Don't hit
I
that
took a
button.
drink of my coffee. Is all I did.
He's like,
And hit the screen.
and
I
leave.
was mid drink, and the screen just went away. I'm sorry. Hi everyone, I'm back.
I I was so lost without you, Jimmy. I just sat there and sputtering about twerking. It was awkward.
I was like, I hope everyone's not watching me awkwardly, frantically pushing buttons on my computer.
No, they're watching me go, we lost Jimmy. We
Uh,
lost Jimmy. Okay.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
people are paying good money to hear us not talk about losing Jimmy. So let's continue.
Yep.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I was just saying, I just kind of a disclaimer, not trying to bash public schools in this instance because, I understand some people, it's just not their lifestyle. Some people don't want to homeschool. Some people can't. Instances on why you can't homeschool. Let's just talk about that. Uh, both mom and dad have a full time job. That makes it more
Mm-hmm.
difficult. Does it make it impossible? No, but it makes it more difficult, especially if you both are required to go to the office. Unless you have a grandparent or other family member or friend willing to step up and help you in those instances, I don't see a
Mm-hmm.
real way you can do homeschooling. That's hard. Uh,
Well, that was our experience for a long time. We both worked full time, but that was I was in retail. I worked early mornings, and my wife, as a therapist, worked evenings,
mhm.
and we sacrificed, truly sacrificed our time together, one on one, because that was a priority and a value of ours that we wanted to pursue home education. Thankfully, we have a really strong bond, and I don't feel like we had any major missteps or strain on our relationship that was detrimental. I mean, there were days that it was tough. I miss hanging out with you. You're my favorite person. But thankfully, we had just a really strong bond that allowed us to be able to do that. But yeah, if you're going to commit to homeschool, you got to think through all those scenarios and come up with a plan. As we've been talking about the scary bus situation,
Mhm.
I would say probably one of the hardest situations or scenarios for a family that wanted to homeschool would be a single parent. Would
Yes.
be difficult. And if this is your story, if you found us and you're listening to that, absolutely, my heart goes out to you. And that's the best advice I can give is be reaching out to your community. Do you have a family member or a parent, a grandparent, someone that's able to come alongside you? Or are there other families in your school that are in your church that you are able to try to build a relationship, a routine with, that they might be able to help you out in some sort of way? I don't know, but that would be
Even if
a
they're not
challenge.
in a church, even if you're not in a church, you shouldn't feel like you only have to. The only option is to reach out to church people if you are
Oh,
a homeschool
yeah.
dad or mom. You need to have a community, like Jimmy said. That is like the biggest thing for us. I can't imagine. I'm sure we could survive. It'd be a lot harder if we didn't have a community in the homeschool world. And
Mm-hmm.
some of our people we know aren't churchgoers. A lot of them are. Like I'd say a large portion of them are. But you still have people that aren't, and they're in the homeschool community, and that's fine. You know, the importance is putting your focus on your kids' education and doing it in the best way that you're able to do. And if public school is all you have, and it's all the thing you can do, you can still be present and do things at home outside of that as well. But it's a weird thing to say at a dad schooled podcast to focus on homeschooling. But I just want to make sure that you also understand that it's not like I'll never talk to you. You can't reach out to us if you have questions about anything dad related with bringing up your kids. Feel free to reach out to us. Still, we want community. We want to build that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay. We talked about that. Um, hmm. Homeschooling means kids won't be exposed to diverse perspectives.
I'm sure there's times that that's the case. It wouldn't surprise me that there are a number of families that will grasp onto that very tightly, and everything that my child is going to encounter and every viewpoint they're going to hear is tightly controlled. And it's like looking at the world through a straw,
Mm-hmm.
and you only get to see this much. Um, those are kinds from my as I play out the scenario in my mind. I feel like those are the scenarios where it's the kid that when they get out of the house, they go off to college, or they grow up and move out. These are the kids that go off the deep end, and go absolutely nuts whenever they're out on their own,
Yeah.
because
Overload.
everything was through that little straw, and they don't realize what's going on out in the world. And so when they do encounter the world, yeah, it's just overload and freak out, or they just try to end up consuming all of it all at once. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's like there's that trope of the pastor's kid is always the worst
Yeah.
kid, or always the nutso kid. Thankfully, I'm a pastor's kid. I think it turned out okay. My parents did a really good job of helping balance, I think, church life and social life, that allowed me to have a good foundation of, okay, this is what's going on in the world. Have a good understanding of what's going on in the world. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my theory.
Yeah. I think so. There's the whole mindset as a husband wife team that you should be unified in your approach when dealing with your kids. You know, it's a myth and a theory in itself. I can honestly say for like the major things like don't play in traffic, don't stick a fork in an electrical outlet, don't drink poison, those kind of things. I'm unified with my wife on. We don't want our kids to be doing those things. Don't do
Good, good.
drugs, all these things that, are questionable in some households. We choose not to have our kids do that. But so that's our unification is there. But we are way different like perspectives on bringing our kids up. And it is easier when we're united and we work together. And as a dad, husband and a dad, I have had to swallow a lot of pride when I think my kids should be doing one thing, and I go down the path of pursuing that sometimes, and I'm completely wrong, and it's not working out. And then my kid starts freaking out or doing something that I did not think. I thought they'd be a perfect angel. If I raise my voice and I stomp my foot, I thought my kid would just stop being disrespectful and stop being whatever and get in line, come to attention or whatever it might be I thought would happen. I don't know what I thought would happen. But obviously, raising my voice did not work. So raising my voice more did not work anymore. And obviously, my wife would tell me, hey, maybe try not yelling at them. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. You go down the whole, everyone's been there. And then you
Yeah.
got to take a step back and be like, I'm being ridiculous. And you got to make things right. You got to go back and make things right. Nothing's better in this world than your kids seeing you acknowledge your mistake and make things right, because then they understand that's how you do it. If you don't model it at home, they're not going to see it and they're not going to do it later on. But the whole point of this tangent is, what was the point of this tangent? My gosh, I just went off on I lost that. Holy cow. That thread was like
Oh no,
gone.
you need another
What
swig of
was
that coffee.
It's gone. My coffee's gone. Maybe that's the problem.
Oh no, that's a
Oh,
tragedy.
I lost where I was going with that. Shoot. What was the question?
I hate that feeling.
No.
But yeah,
What was the question? You don't
I
even
wish,
know, do you? You have no
I wish.
idea. Well, that's great.
Wait, no, it kind of just echoing back to what I was saying a little bit ago is if you do allow your student and your child to have some visibility and access to other viewpoints that are out there, one of our biggest practices is we do just intentional debriefs with our kid. Whenever we leave a situation where we're around other kids, other students, we're at an event or an activity, and there's people that have different viewpoints than us. I'm glad that our kids are being exposed and having experiences with people with different viewpoints. But we do have an intentional debrief. And hey, what kind of stuff did you hear? What kind of stuff were you talking about? Was there anything that they said that you didn't understand, or anything that concerned you, anything that made you feel uncomfortable? And a lot of parents, they might feel like this is an invasion of privacy, or I just need to let my kids be kids. But I'm of the school of, no, I want to make sure that they understand what they are encountering, and help them have a filter that allows them to sift through everything that, they're gonna see or hear things that are foreign, unfamiliar, and it can bring up questions. Well, I want to answer questions. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be forthright in my answering of those questions. And that can be a scary place as a parent committing to do that, because there's things that kids bring up like, where did you hear that? Where did you understand that? Like, okay, let's get into it. And that's going to help bring up a well-rounded, not just a well-educated child, but a well-rounded child that's going to be capable of engaging the world when they grow up.
And you can do that with situations you encounter in public. You can do that watching a movie or a TV show. There's some topic in there that pops up that you didn't see coming, and your kids look like this. You can stop and pause and be like, "Oh, let's talk about this." We just saw a guy's head explode on this film called Glory. Let's talk about this.
Yeah. Heads do that. It's like
heads do that in war. This is why we shouldn't have war, children.
Right.
I actually remember where I was going with all that before. So parents
good.
And unification of like being like-minded in direction. Yes, it's a great idea, but it never happens. And as a dad, it's our responsibility to not create strife and issues more than necessary, I should say. But you should be unified with your spouse. But it's important your kids also see that mom can have a different viewpoint than dad, and not to play that off each other. But it's important that they can understand that you can coexist in the same household, share the same children, share the same bedroom, share the same dinner table, and not be nasty to each other. That's something nowadays that kids, I feel, don't have a good role model for that, because in sitcoms and all TV shows and YouTube things they watch, someone gets upset, they slam the door and stomp off, right? Like that's like the standard whatever. So our kids model that, and parents model that. We grew up watching the same crap on TV as well. So whenever times get rough, it's important to take a step back and approach it from a different angle. And it's not, and this is like, I am not the best person to give this type of advice. It's easy for me to give this advice, but do I always follow it? No. I can honestly say I don't go around slamming doors in my house. Like, maybe, I'm sure if someone was counting in my life, they probably could count some number of doors I've slammed, but I make it a point not to stomp away from problems and do things like that. Do I walk away sometimes because I feel like I don't have an answer or I can't control my emotions? Absolutely. If I get so upset that I just got to walk away, I will. And I got to be alone for a bit. But it's important your kids see resolutions to those things as well. Because hearing your parents screaming at each other every single night is not a good, healthy upbringing for a child. And seeing their parents not resolve their conflicts is not good either. Like, if your parents have a big blow-up fight and then stomp off and the kids never see a resolution to that, what are they thinking? Like, mom and dad had a fight and they're not coming back. They're not resolving this. Therefore, if I have a fight with my friends, I can just have a fight and stomp off as well. So it's those kind of learning things.
They're losing their connections. They're losing their bridging community. And they're learning in their model, or they're learning what's modeled to them, and that's how they're going to do their own relationships. So
so
that's a challenge. And if that's something that you find is happening in your home, then I absolutely encourage you find a family therapist or a couples therapist, or find some sort of scenario, pastor, a friend, someone who's able to help you take some intentional steps to, we need to work on ourselves. No one is perfect. I don't expect myself to be perfect, so I'm not going to hold you to a point of perfection either, realizing you also make mistakes. I'm not going to hold everything against you. And if you're finding that those disagreements are insurmountable more and more every day, then look for someone that could help you work through some of those things.
And if you have nobody, dadschoolpodcast.com, send us an email, send us a message, because we love to hear your story of what's going on in your life, and we will reply back. Now, Jimmy, is this going to be expert advice we're giving?
Probably Chat GPT.
Yes, we will. We will definitely insert your questions into ChatGPT and then modify
Our
the
AI
answers and
chatbot
response. But
to respond.
totally.
We'll insert your name to make it personal.
In fact, we'll insert our names, get the answers, and
That's
then
right.
read them back on air for next times,
Uh-huh.
just to obfuscate the actual name of the person. But no, totally. We will love to hear your problems. So send all your problems to us pertaining to being a dad, homeschooling as a dad, homeschooling as a dad with a mom homeschooling, all those problems. Or if you just have questions about any of that stuff, send a question to us because we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, or even just send us a pat on the back. Hey, you guys are
Yes.
doing great.
Yeah. And if you want to send
Because
us
we are,
something
right?
negative, feel free to do that too. We will just delete it. Because
Yeah.
part of being an adult and not being a crazy psychopath is not responding to some people and just deleting things.
Yeah. You can do that.
Yeah, we can do that without having problems. We can just go like, "Oh, that's a
It's
great
allowed.
opinion." Delete,
Yeah.
block, unsubscribe. But totally, it's a great skill to have to also know when not to respond. All right, I think we are at time because some of us have to work today.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate this conversation. We didn't get the whole list, but we got through a lot of it. So we will try to
We'll do
sprinkle
a part
in.
2 another
Well,
day.
I
Yeah.
don't think there's enough for a part 2, but we have a lot of topics coming up. Some people out there might think that we have peaked at the first episode, the first 5 minutes of the first episode. I assure you, that's probably not the case.
Probably.
Probably not
Chances
the
are.
case. Yeah, we're still compiling the list, but there is a
Oh, we've got
list.
some guests coming up.
Oh
It's gonna be good
yes,
stuff.
we have a whole list of guests that we have not asked yet, but they're on our radar. So we will report back if we do ask somebody and they do choose to join us. We'll tell you. If we ask somebody
Oh, we
and they
got our
don't join
first.
us, we won't tell
We
you.
got our first email. Someone else asking if they could be. They
We
they
did.
came to us.
They
I'm excited.
came to
Be good.
us. They responded to me twice now, so I know they're not a bot.
Yeah.
And I'm excited.
Likely.
They're actually an author of a book that about homeschooling. So we're gonna research that a little more, get a little more podcasts under our belt, and we'll look at potentially doing some collaborations. But it's exciting times. If you're just now getting in on this in the ground floor, oh, buckle up. We have all the contents for you.
The best time to invest.
The best, invest. Go to dadschoolpodcast.com and invest in your kid's future.
That's right.
All right.
Hey, it's been fun, man.
Yeah, you take care, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.